Have you ever noticed how some people, even in their 70s or 80s, seem to carry a certain light? It's not in their skin or their hair or the way they move. It's in their eyes. There's a brightness there, a quiet excitement, as if life still has surprises waiting just around the corner. That's curiosity. And more than any vitamin, diet, or exercise routine, curiosity may be the real secret to staying young. Today we'll explore why that little spark, the urge to wonder, to learn, to ask, keeps the mind sharp, the heart open, and the spirit alive, no matter your age. So pour yourself a cup of tea, settle into your favorite chair, and let's take a gentle walk into one of the most beautiful truths about growing older. Staying curious isn't just good for the mind. It's how we keep the soul young. 1. The light in the eyes. There's something beautiful about curiosity. It's that sparkle, that glimmer you see in someone's eyes when they talk about something they still want to learn, to try, or to understand. You can see it in a 7-year-old discovering the ocean, and sometimes in a 70-year-old rediscovering joy. That light? It's life itself. Curiosity is not just a trait of the young. It's the reason they feel young. And it's also the reason some people stay that way, long after their hair turns silver. The story of George and the garden. George was 78 when he decided to start a small vegetable garden behind his house in Oregon. He'd never grown a thing in his life. He didn't know the first thing about compost or pruning, but one spring morning he saw his neighbor planting tomatoes and thought, I wonder if I could do that. That single thought, I wonder, changed the rhythm of his days. He started waking earlier. He learned about soil pH, seasons, and seeds. He failed, of course. His first batch of cucumbers didn't make it past July. But he didn't stop. By the next spring, he had a small patch of green. And by the following summer, his daughter said, Dad, you look younger. And he did. His hands were rougher, sure, but his smile was brighter. His mind, sharper. His steps, lighter. Curiosity, the brain's fountain of youth. Modern neuroscience has begun to explain what George stumbled upon. When you stay curious, when you learn, explore, or even just wonder, your brain lights up, literally. Curiosity releases dopamine, the motivation molecule that drives learning and pleasure. It keeps neurons firing, builds new pathways, and strengthens memory. A 2021 study at UC Davis found that older adults who regularly engaged in new learning, painting, puzzles, learning music, or even trying new recipes, showed improved memory and cognitive flexibility equal to people decades younger. It's like giving your brain a daily walk. It keeps it flexible, adaptable, and alive. Curiosity isn't just about knowledge. It's about wonder. Curiosity doesn't mean studying textbooks or mastering hobbies. It can be as simple as asking questions again. Why is the sky that color tonight? What would happen if I took a different route to the store? What does my granddaughter mean by that new phrase she keeps saying? Each question, small as it is, cracks open the shell of routine. It reminds your brain that the world is still changing, still alive, still worth noticing it though. And when you notice, you feel alive too. The cost of stopping. When people stop being curious, something inside them quietly slows down. The days blend together. The sparkle fades. It's not just emotional, it's physical. A study in the Journal of Aging and Health found that older adults who lost interest in learning or discovery were twice as likely to experience early cognitive decline. Curiosity, it seems, doesn't just keep you young, though. It keeps you here. The mind that asks stays awake. Think of the mind like a garden. Questions are sunlight, wonder is water. Without them, the soil dries up. Things stop growing. But one new interest, one spark of curiosity, and everything comes back to life. That's why the people who stay young after 60 are often the ones who keep asking, what's next? They sign up for classes, join book clubs, try new recipes, learn about planets, art, photography, languages, history, technology. They don't need to master it all, just to stay open. Because curiosity is the language of youth, no matter what year it is on the calendar. 2. How curiosity heals the brain and the heart. There's a quiet magic that happens when you stay curious. It's invisible but powerful. Something that happens deep inside the brain, the heart, and the spirit all at once. Curiosity doesn't just make life interesting, it makes life healing. The brain that keeps learning keeps living. When scientists at the University of California scanned the brains of older adults learning new skills, like painting or digital photography, they found something remarkable. Their brains looked younger. Literally. The regions linked to attention, memory, and emotion started firing like those of much younger adults. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to grow and adapt no matter how old you are. And curiosity is its fuel. When you ask a question or try something new, your brain releases dopamine and acetylcholine, two chemicals that improve focus and memory. It's like turning on a light in a room that's been dim for too long. That's why people who stay mentally active through hobbies, reading, or exploring new interests are 30 to 50% less likely to develop Alzheimer's or dementia. Their brains stay awake. As one researcher put it, curiosity doesn't just add years to your life, it adds life to your years. Curiosity in the heart. But the benefits don't stop at the brain. Curiosity, it turns out, is good for your heart, both emotionally and physically. When you stay open to the world, to new people, new stories, new ideas, you keep your emotional world expanding. That openness reduces stress, builds empathy, and strengthens relationships. People who remain curious about others, who ask questions, who listen, who care, tend to feel less lonely, less anxious, and more connected. And those feelings don't just make life sweeter, they protect the heart itself. Harvard's Health and Aging study found that people who maintained high social curiosity, the interest in meeting or understanding others, had significantly lower rates of heart disease and stroke. Why? Because curiosity encourages connection, and connection calms the nervous system. Every time you ask, "How are you really doing?" Every time you show genuine interest in another person's story, your heart literally slows down. Your body releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which lowers blood pressure and reduces stress. So yes, curiosity is good for your heart, in every possible sense of the word. Curiosity and emotional resilience. There's another hidden gift in staying curious. It makes you braver. When you're curious, you replace fear with fascination. Instead of saying, "I don't know how to do that," you start saying, "I wonder how that works." And that small shift changes everything. It turns uncertainty, which often causes stress, into opportunity. People who stay curious tend to adapt faster to change. They're less likely to fall into hopelessness and more likely to bounce back after loss or illness. A 2022 study from the University of Michigan found that adults who scored higher on curiosity tests had better emotional recovery after stressful events. Their cortisol levels returned to normal faster. Curiosity, in a way, protects your peace. It reminds you that there's always something new to learn, even from pain. That's why so many people who live through hardship often come out wiser, softer, and somehow more alive. They don't deny what's hard. They stay curious about what it might teach them. Curiosity keeps relationships alive. Think about the longest friendships or marriages you've ever seen. The ones that last decades. What do they all have in common? They don't stop getting to know each other. They stay curious. They keep asking questions. They keep laughing at new things. They keep discovering the small, ordinary joys that make love grow instead of fade. When couples or friends stop being curious, when they assume they already know everything about the other person, connection quietly dries up. But when they stay interested, every day becomes a little new again. Curiosity, then, is not only the secret to a long life, it's the secret to a long love. The science of staying curious. So how does it all work? Here's what the research shows. 1. Curiosity boosts dopamine, which keeps motivation and learning alive. 2. It lowers cortisol, reducing chronic stress. 3. It builds new brain connections, protecting memory and slowing cognitive decline. 4. It increases empathy, which deepens relationships. 5. It encourages positive aging, helping you see new possibilities instead of limitations. It's like a daily vitamin for your mind and soul, one that doesn't come in a bottle. And unlike physical youth, mental youth can be renewed every single day. A quiet story of renewal. There's a woman named Claire in Vermont, 84 years old, retired librarian. When the pandemic hit, she started learning Italian online just to keep her mind busy. It wasn't easy, she laughed in an interview. I kept mixing up ciao and grazie. But 2 years later, she can read children's books in Italian and has made friends through a virtual language exchange. She says, I feel like a student again. I get to make mistakes. I get to learn. Her doctor says her blood pressure has improved, her memory is sharper, and she seems simply happier. Maybe that's the real miracle of curiosity. It doesn't just add knowledge, it restores a sense of aliveness. Curiosity heals the brain. It softens the heart. It brings color back to days that might otherwise turn gray. And it reminds us gently that the world is still worth exploring, no matter how many times we've already walked around the sun. 3. How to keep curiosity alive after 60. Curiosity isn't something we lose with age. It's something we can choose to keep. And like any part of the body or spirit, it grows stronger when we use it. So how do we keep that spark alive? That quiet urge to ask, to learn, to notice, to wonder, when life has already shown us so much. Here are a few gentle, real ways to keep curiosity blooming long after 60. 1. Ask more why and what if. As children, we live in the world of why and what if. Why is the moon following us? What if we could fly? Somewhere along the way, we stop asking, we start assuming, but the habit of wonder can be reclaimed anytime. Next time something puzzles you, a new technology, a bird song, a phrase your grandchild says, resist the urge to shrug. Instead ask, why is that? Or I wonder how that works. Those tiny questions light small fires in the brain. They pull you back into the present, because curiosity at its heart is really just another word for attention. And attention is what turns ordinary life into something extraordinary. 2. Try something you've never tried before. You don't have to climb mountains or learn coding. You can start small. Try a new recipe, plant a different flower. Join a community class on pottery, watercolor, or meditation. Learn a few words in another language. Every new experience rewires your brain. It stretches your sense of possibility. And that stretch is the true exercise of youth. Researchers at Harvard call this mental cross-training, like giving your mind new muscles. It strengthens creativity, memory, and emotional balance. And maybe most beautifully, it makes you feel like a beginner again. There's something deeply freeing about not needing to be perfect, only curious. 3. Be curious about people. Every person you meet, young or old, carries an entire world inside them. Ask about it. Listen. Curiosity about others builds bridges that time can't break. When you ask your grandson about his music, or your neighbor about her travels, or a stranger about their accent, you're doing something profound. You're saying, I still want to understand the world through someone else's eyes. That openness doesn't just connect you to them, it connects you back to life itself. Loneliness and isolation fade when curiosity returns, because curiosity always leads to connection. 4. Stay curious about yourself. We often think we know who we are, but the truth is we're still changing. Even at 70, even at 80, ask yourself sometimes, what makes me happy now? What do I still want to learn? What surprises me about who I've become? You might be amazed at what you find. Self-curiosity keeps the spirit flexible. It helps you forgive, grow, and begin again. Remember, you are still a story unfolding. 5. Let nature remind you. Go outside. Notice the details, the colors, the sounds, the small miracles that happen quietly every day. Curiosity and gratitude are close friends. When you stay curious about the world, you naturally begin to appreciate it more deeply. Look at the way sunlight shifts through the trees. At Parkhead at 5 p.m., I said, listen to how rain changes its sound against the roof. Wonder where the birds go when the season turns. Every question like that reconnects you to life, to awe, to something larger than yourself. 6. Laugh, learn, and let go. Curiosity thrives in lightness. You can't be curious and judgmental at the same time. So let go of perfection. Laugh at mistakes. Let learning be joyful again. The older we get, the more we realize. Nobody ever finishes learning. We just keep discovering, little by little, how big and beautiful this life really is. The soul that keeps asking, keeps shining. There's a quiet truth that runs through all of this. You don't stay young by avoiding age. You stay young by staying interested. Because the soul that keeps asking questions never really grows old. It stays awake. It stays open. It stays in love with life. Maybe youth isn't a time in life. Maybe it's a way of seeing. When you wake up each morning with a question, a sense of wonder, a small spark of what will I discover today? You bring light into the day before the sun even rises. So stay curious. Keep asking. Keep learning, noticing, exploring. Because curiosity isn't just how we stay young, it's how we stay alive. You don't grow old when you age. You grow old when you stop being curious. Stay curious and stay young at heart. If this story reminded you that there's still so much to discover, subscribe to Stories After 60, because here we celebrate the wonder of growing older and the beauty of never stopping to ask, what's next?